Not sure if he's ready. Kids will be ready.
上线了，
可以开始了吗？
开始了。
I still owe you something, Chuck.
Okay. Right. It's time. Okay. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, my friends. Welcome to 2022 ABF Online Talk, Passion for Birding. Yes, we're back in Asia this month, and we are still in the Philippines. Adrian Constantino will talk about birding in the Philippines today, focusing on Visayas and Mindanao. Well, since we already knew Adrian, and obviously he needs more time to cover so many things. So let's just cut the corner straight over to Adrian. Okay, Adrian, are you ready?
Yes, ready.
Let's go.
Thank you again. Thank you, Victor. So let me just share my screen. Is my screen visible?
Very good.
Yes, yes.
Right. Okay, so let's start. So good day, good morning, good evening again, folks. This is Adrian Constantino. I'm the birder. I'm a birder and the director at Birding Adventure Philippines. Again, I would like to thank the Asian Bird Fair Committee for the honor to talk about birding in the Philippines. So this is the second episode of a two-part presentation. And in case you missed the first one, it has been uploaded at the Asian Bird Fair Facebook pages and the YouTube pages of the Asian Bird Fair. So please check them out to know more about birding in Luzon and Palawan. Okay, so before I go to part 2 of our talk, let me just introduce myself and our company a little bit. Because we had some questions on how to contact us from last week. So I have been a bird tour leader now for more than a decade, and I've been showing Philippine birds to foreign visiting birders. Some of them are hardcore birders with thousands of birds in their life list. Many are quite relaxed, enjoying both the birds and our rich Philippine culture. Some are focused mainly on photography, and then some have been good friends from multiple return trips. Like here in the middle, these are my favorite Japanese birding group while we were birding in Mount Kitanglad. And I have outside of bird guiding, I have spent a lot of time sharing my knowledge with the future nature guides in different areas of the Philippines through the Department of Tourism's program on the naturalist tour guiding. So many thanks Department of Tourism for the opportunity to serve and impart the joys of birding to fellow Filipinos. I also get a different kind of high during these tourism lectures, like this one time when I saw this, the facial expression of this young indigenous Aita when she saw up close a crested honey buzzard. Thanks in part to the crisp image from a Swarovski optics spotting scope. Konting plugging lang. And then during free times, I also go birding with fellow Filipino birders from the Wild Bird Club of the Philippines. And here we have a big group of us birding under the rain in Subic in Luzon. And here's on the middle, here's us on our first birding trip to Zamboanga in Western Mindanao. And quite recently, there's lots of rarities occurring in Manila Bay. So here's us wader watching in Tanza, Nabotas. Okay. And then of course, I also spend quality time birding with my lovely wife Trinket. We've met her a few seconds ago. Like this time when we twitched for a blue-winged pita in Negros. As that species, the blue-winged pita, has not been seen in the Philippines for more than 100 years. So we made a detour. We were supposed to go elsewhere, but because of the sighting of the blue-winged pita, we made the detour, rearranged our travel plans, and went straight to Negros to see the pita. And then my wife and I have been done some birding abroad in Australia, Thailand, Borneo, Cambodia, Malaysia, where I have met some of the most awesome birder friends. No? So Victor and I were talking about Royal Belum National Park. So we went there with Mike, Lou, and other birders from the Southeast Asian region. So that's me. No? And during the early months of the pandemic lockdown, I was fortunate to be part of the Swarovski Optic Live Birding series. In fact, there's a Swarovski Optic Live Birding happening at the moment. No? So maybe after our webinar tonight, you can watch it again later, wherein they broadcast live birding from all across the globe. No? Countries like the UK, India, Sri Lanka, Taiwan, Borneo, and China. So my trainings for the Department of Tourism have resumed, albeit in a webinar format. No? And as the world adjusts to the COVID pandemic, we're now going back to actual birding and actual on-site trainings. Okay, so our company is called Birding Adventure Philippines, and we are the first all Filipino birding tour agency. No? So we are fully registered corporation with the Philippine government, and we started 2006. So we have been providing birding services for both foreign and local birders, for big birding tour agencies, as well as private individuals who want to go birding in the Philippines. No? So who are we? No? So we're a very small company composed of all Filipino birders. No? So when you go birding with us, you get a completely customized and highly personalized service. So we are a group of Filipino birders who met in 2005, and we went on a couple of birding trips together, and then later on decided to start our own birding tour company. So we come from different backgrounds, from different parts of the Philippines, and our diverse personal experiences birding the Philippines is something that we can share with our birder guests. Though the main focus of each tour are the birds, no, Birding Adventure Philippines tours specializes also on other things, no, the other wildlife, be it native plants, butterflies, snakes, mammals, etc. Local culture, food, and other outdoor activities. No? So if you want to know more about us, you may visit our website at www.birdingphilippines.com. We also have an extensive collection of photos and videos of Philippine birds there. And there's also a contact form where you can get in touch with us. You can also scan this QR code here, and that will lead you to our webpage and our social media pages. Okay, so that's enough about me and our company. We go to our topic, which is major bird watching sites in the Philippines. So as I have mentioned last week, a typical trip to the Philippines covers 3 weeks, visiting the islands of Luzon, Mindanao, and Palawan. And if you have one more week, an extension to the islands of Visayas can add in more endemic species. So last week, we focused on Luzon and Palawan, and this time we will be focusing on the islands of Mindanao and the Visayas Island Group. Okay? So we first go to Mindanao. No? So where are the best places to go bird watching in Mindanao? No? So for Mindanao, there are many birding sites, but we will focus on the following sites. No? Picop in Surigao and in Agusan on the eastern seaboard, and then Mount Kitanglad here in northern Mindanao, Davao in southeast Mindanao, and Zamboanga City on the western part. Okay, so Mindanao is the second largest island in the Philippines. It is in the southern part of the Philippines, with the southwestern part of Zamboanga, Sulu Archipelago, very close to Malaysian Borneo. And then the southeastern tip islands here, they're very close to the islands of Indonesia. It is home to 51 endemics found in both mossy montane and lowland forest habitats. The proximity of the whole island of Mindanao to mainland Asia, to Indonesia and Borneo, provides opportunities for migrants, mainland Asia migrants, as well as austral migrants. So migrants coming from the south. So these austral migrants include the sacred kingfisher or channel-billed cuckoo. These migrants are rarely observed in other parts of the Philippines, especially in Luzon. So many areas in Mindanao are still unexplored, and the potential for birding tourism is very huge. Weather here is very different from Luzon. Again, right now, where I'm speaking is very, very hot, no? Feels like 40 degrees temperature, no? But in Mindanao, there's a lot of rain, okay? So, Mindanao was less pronounced dry and wet seasons, okay? So, first up would be PICOP. So PICOP stands for Paper Industry Corporation of the Philippines. Now, it used to be a large logging company and features Mindanao lowland forest. It is the wettest place in the Philippines. No? So be prepared for lots of rain when you go birding here, even during the summertime. Okay, and it used to be the most accessible site to see the best of Mindanao lowland endemic birds. No? But in the recent years, unfortunately, no, continuous habitat loss through rampant illegal logging has reduced the suitable habitats. No? So, nevertheless, most birds are still there, but are now more challenging to see. Okay, so to get to PICOP, you take a 1 to 1.5 hour flight from Manila to Davao or Butuan, depends on where you want to go, where you want to land. Us, we prefer the Davao Airport, no, because they have more flights and there's lots of options, no. And there's also less cancellation, no, when there's a big storm. Even because in Butuan, the other airport here, even like a light rain, sometimes they cancel the flights. So for reliability purposes, we travel via Davao, and then from Davao or from Butuan, we take a 2 to 3 hour van ride heading to Bislig on the eastern part of Mindanao. Now, from our standard accommodations here, this is where most birders stay when we go birding in PICOP. It's Paper Country Inn. It's okay accommodations, no, clean, comfortable beds, private toilet and bath. And from the accommodations here, we take a 1 to 2 hours drive using jeepneys here in the lower right corner to get to the birding areas through rough roads or former logging roads, no, when the concession was still operational. Okay, so birding here is physically easy, no. It's mostly on old, flat, and level logging roads, and occasionally we foray into off trails, no, to look for skulking species like this black-headed tailor bird. No, to get here to these birding areas, we board the jeepneys. No, this one here, no, this white vehicle here. So we board the Philippine jeepneys. Now, bear with me. By now, you've heard the word Philippines so many times. Okay, so we board jeepneys, and these are hardy vehicles similar to 4x4 pickups that can accommodate more passengers. It can fit comfortably eight birders with lots of gear plus the guides. No? So sometimes I or the local guide can ride on top of this jeepney here. No, so here I forgot the term. We call it top loading, no? So here in the Philippines, we call it top loading. So we stay there so that we'll have a better vantage point when we're looking for hornbills or raptors, no? Equally important, the jeepney can also provide comfortable napping areas after lunchtime, no? So more comfortable than my logging road bed here, as you can see, no? That's my wife Trinket here napping during lunchtime. Okay, so dreaming of lifers at lunchtime, no? Sometimes it works. Okay, so pickup is usually equated to long birding days, no? So we depart our hotel very, very early, no? Even earlier during the summer when we're looking for owls. So during the summertime, when we have longer days, we depart the hotel at around 2 o'clock. And then we have packed lunch and we return to our hotels in the late afternoon. Okay? So there is an excellent local guide based here. His name is Felizardo Goring or Zardo, the birdman of this league. And he has been helping birders for more than 30 years now. No? He's the expert, the local expert when it comes to peacock birding. Okay? So like some typical Asian forest, sometimes we spend hours and hours of walking, no, without seeing any birds. You heard that right, without seeing any birds. No, but if you get lucky, sometimes we encounter a mixed flock that may contain lowland Mindanao's feathered treasures, you know, like blue-headed fantail. No? So this Mindanao endemic here is usually the leader, blue-headed fantail. No, so this Mindanao endemic here is usually the leader of the mixed flock. No? So if you see one, expect to see other species as well. No? So endemics like Mindanao pygmy babbler, Rufous paradise flycatcher, and rusty crowned babbler. No? So if lucky, the mixed flock might contain like the special birds of peacock, like this short-crested monarch, no? One of two endemic monarch species in the Philippines. And if you're lucky, the mixed flock might linger and you will have a lot of time to observe them longer, no? But most of the time, the mixed flock comes and goes, and we have to relocate them again. Okay, so peacock has at least 4 endemic species of kingfishers, no? And it's possible to see Philippine dwarf kingfisher, southern silvery kingfisher, Rufous lord kingfisher, and this stunning male blue-capped wood kingfisher taken by one of our guests from a previous trip, Emiko Nishikawa-san. Okay, so there are 3 endemic hornbills at peacock. So there's a southern rufous hornbill, the close relative of our northern rufous hornbill. I've showcased last week, and then the smaller Mindanao hornbill here, and then the medium-sized Mindanao right hornbill. This one here is a male individual. Peacock also has 2 endemic pitas, no? The Philippine pita, or what used to be called red-bellied pita, and this stunning steers pita. No? So pitas are crown jewels of the forest floor, no? But the steers pita, sometimes there are times of the year when it perches up in the trees. Okay, so peacock is the star of peacock is still the celestial monarch. No? This is a Philippine endemic, no? But most birders see this bird in peacock. It's one of 2 Philippine endemic monarch species, and on some trips where if we're not lucky, we miss this bird. No? But sometimes we get lucky. No, like this time in this video, we saw at least 2 male individuals. So that's our celestial monarch. The crest gets erect when it's agitated or when it's defending its territory. But most of the time, it stays down. Also, here is our group imitating the crest of a celestial monarch. It's a celebratory pose after So after peacock, we usually go to Davao to break the long travel to our next major birding destination. So we spend at least half a day birding here on the foothills of Mount Apo, the Philippines' tallest mountain, to look for at least 2 endemics. So birding here is relatively easy. There's a nice hotel at the base of the mountain, and after a short drive, the habitat for these 2 Mindanao endemics can be reached. No? So the whiskered flower pecker and the cryptic flycatcher. No? So this site is also a good place to catch up on other high elevation endemics that can be seen in Mount Kitanglad, our next featured birding destination. Okay, so the area around Davao is also good for some of the world's rarest migrants. No? So if you time your visit perfectly or correctly, you might have a chance to see the Japanese night heron, no? From December to January, or the Chinese crested tern from December to March. So both of these birds are critically endangered worldwide, but they have been reliable winter visitors for the past 4 years or so. Okay, so from Davao, we usually so from Peacock, we go to Davao, and then we go to Mount Kitanglad in Bukidnon. No? So Mount Kitanglad Range is one of the tallest mountain ranges found in northern Mindanao, and it is home to Mindanao mountain endemics. No? So ideal time in the field will be 2 to 3 days. No? If your visit is during the rainy season, we can extend it to 4 days. Now, if you're coming from Manila, best is to fly via Cagayan de Oro, then travel by land 3 to 4 hours to Bukidnon. If coming from Davao, it is around 4 to 5 hours van ride. up to the jump-off point to the mountain. Then we take a 1-hour 4x4 ride up Mount Kitanglad, and then a 30-minute walk to reach Del Monte Lodge, our basic accommodations at Mount Kitanglad. Okay, so this is Del Monte Lodge. It's a very basic accommodations at the foothills of Mount Kitanglad. This campsite is located at 1,300 meters above sea level and is surrounded by some vegetable plantations and mossy montane forest. No, very basic accommodations here. No electricity, so it's a $1 million star accommodations. So no electricity, limited cell phone signal, no internet. So all supplies, food, everything for the birding days are brought up by ponies. And there is a local family here that will take care of all our needs. So the father is the guide, the mother is the cook, while the rest of the family assist in other duties. Okay, so the second floor of this lodge is the sleeping area. It's just basically one big floor with mattresses laid out. And then the ground floor here is the kitchen, and the dining tables are located. So for ladies or couples who want some privacy, we can set up huge tents for you. So it's really nice birding in Mount Kitanglad. In fact, it's one of my most favorite places to go for birding in the Philippines. The forest around the lodge is a very relaxed. Once you get there, it's one of the very relaxed ways of seeing Philippine and Mindanao high elevation endemics, such as cinnamon ibon, olive cap flower pecker, and black and cinnamon fantail and rufous-headed tailor bird. So the leader of the mixed flock here is the elegant tit in the black and cinnamon fantail, and then all the other species follow suit. Okay, so night birding just around the lodge can be productive for a Philippine frogmouth like the one here. Now, this is the friendliest Philippine frogmouth in the Philippines, offering good photographic opportunities. The giant scops owl is also around, Everett scops owl as well, and as well as two nightjar species, great-eared nightjar and Philippine nightjar. A few meters walk from the lodge is a forest clearing that can be good for Bukidnon woodcock. It's the only endemic wader species in the Philippines. So here's one individual flying around in its roding display. So many thanks to our friends Tonji and Sylvia Ramos for the excellent photo. It's very difficult to take photos of birds in flight, especially at night. Okay, so the following morning, the first full day of birding is usually dedicated to search for our national bird, the great Philippine eagle. So from the lodge at 1,300 meters, we continue our ascent passing through vegetable plots, potato plots, cabbage plantations, carrots, etc., and patches of montane forest to reach the eagle viewpoint at 1,500 meters. So the viewpoint is where we will wait for the Philippine eagle to appear. So that's the view from the eagle viewpoint. Okay, so the waiting time highly varies. Sometimes in just a few hours of waiting, the Philippine eagle will show up. Sometimes it takes the whole day before it makes an appearance. So the luckiest I got here was we saw the Philippine eagle on our way up before reaching the viewpoint. So within 30 minutes starting from our walk, we got lucky that time. But sometimes we spend the whole day just waiting for the national bird to show up. So the views can also vary. Sometimes it's long distance scope views, like this one, or long distance flight views. So sometimes it's perched on the next mountain, but sometimes the eagle can fly closer near our viewpoint. So like our time with our Japanese friends, so that's them taking photos of this Philippine eagle soaring above our viewpoint. Okay, so the forest patches on the way up and around the viewpoint can be good for Mindanao mountain endemics such as this red-eared parrotfinch. So this species prefers the open habitats close to the forest. Most of the time we see it feeding on the seeds of sunflower plants, no, scattered around in the area. Okay, so other endemics include the apomina, one of the most gorgeous Philippine endemic with its funky crest and bright yellow wattles and bill. So if you chance upon a fruiting tree, there's a high chance of seeing a flock of apominas. So these are related to the starlings also, minas and starlings. Okay, so if we get lucky and we see the eagle on the first day, we go further up for the apo sunbird. No? So if we miss it on the first day, on the morning of the second day of birding, we still attempt for the Philippine eagle. No? So once we see the Philippine eagle, we can attempt for the apo sunbird. No? So the apo sunbird, the walk will take a further 2 to 3 hours walk from the viewpoint, and we will get to around 1,800 meters over higher, better quality forest. No? So here's a male individual sipping on an undescribed native species of lipstick vine, Aschinanthus sp. Okay, so here's our mandatory group photo from one of our previous trips here. So it's a big group. We usually go here on a smaller group, but since this was organized, no, for the first Asian Bird Fair last 2010, no, held at Davao City. So participants were from Singapore, Taiwan, Thailand, Malaysia, Hong Kong. No, everyone is wearing rubber boots, no, because I think this was still a rainy season. No, September, we visited September, no, except for our good friend Sam Sonso, no, from Eco Institute, Hong Kong. Okay, so that's Mount Kitanglad. No? So as the forest in Picop is fast disappearing, we are now looking for new sites for lowland Mindanao endemics. And one of those places is Zamboanga, no, a city found in the western part of Mindanao. Okay, so from Manila or from Davao City, we fly into to Zamboanga City, no? And then from the city, the birding area is very accessible and can be reached within 30 minutes. So the best birding site is Pasunangka Natural Park and Baluno Watershed. No? So there are protected areas managed by the DNR and is the source of water for the whole of the city. So there are several river crossings, so best to prepare proper gear. No? So before going to Zamboanga, it is also suggested, no, to make contact with the local tourism office and the DNR office, no, for proper coordination. No? Same with Mount Kitanglad Natural Park. Okay, so Zamboanga has its own set of endemics found only in the western part of Mindanao, such as this white-eared tailor bird and Zamboanga bulbul. No? So Zamboanga bulbul looks very similar to the more widespread Philippine bulbul, but this one here is restricted only to western Mindanao. No? It shares some of the birds at Picop, which is very good. No? So Mindanao lowland endemics such as this stunning Mindanao wattled broadbill. So let me just catch my breath while you're watching the video. So this is the female Mindanao wattled broadbill with the pinkish light purple chest, and this one here is the male, no, with the white underparts. Okay, so Zamboanga, it has many other Philippine and Mindanao endemics such as the Philippine pita, Philippine trogon, or the Pinskers hawk eagle. It is also one of the areas where Philippine eagle, the great Philippine eagle, has been recorded recently. No? Zamboanga is one of the biggest cities in western Mindanao, and it's quite developed. And its proximity to the forest is a huge advantage when it comes to birding tourism. Okay, so And then there are less popular areas that are getting more attention now thanks to the increase of Mindanao-based birders exploring new birding sites. Now, previously unexplored areas are now being opened up for tourism, such as Compostela Valley and Davao de Oro, now called Davao de Oro. No? It's a place, it's a site to see the Linas sunbird. No? And other places in Gingog, no, or in Matutum and Lake Colon, no, for example, this Mindanao lorikeet. Thank you, Martin Pineda, for the photo. So the reliable sightings now of Mindanao lorikeet from this area in Mount Matutum and Lake Colon. No? And then, of course, the less known areas of Basilan and Tawi-Tawi. No? So we're getting more and more birders there. So we're bound to see more observations from those areas. So hopefully in the near future, we can offer more tours in those areas. So the islands of Basilan and Tawi-Tawi can also be interesting to visit because of their own subset of endemic species and subspecies. Okay, so for birders who have an additional week of birding in the Philippines, they can visit the central Philippine islands of the Visayas. So now we jump to our 4th week of birding in the Philippines, and we go to the central Philippines in the islands of Bohol and in Negros. So there are many birding sites in the Visayas region, each with their own set of endemics, but we will be focusing only on these two here, Bohol and Negros, due to time constraints, not only on this presentation, but also on the nature of the limited time of visiting birders. So birders who cannot go to Mindanao, an alternative would be the island of Bohol, because Bohol is a small island in the south central Visayas and shares some birds with the greater Mindanao faunal region. So to get here, you can fly from Manila to the new Panglao Airport, and then travel by vans or minibuses to the center of the island in Carmen and in Bilar for forest birding. So like Palawan, Bohol is very well developed in terms of tourism. So there are lots of accommodations and transportations. There's a wide variety of options for all kinds of travelers. Okay, so Bohol is famous for the chocolate hills. It's thousands of geologic formations scattered in the center of the island. So these hills are covered in grass, and during summer, when the vegetation dries up, they turn brown, like Hershey's chocolate kisses. It is also popular for the Philippine tarsier, the smallest primate species in the Philippines, and the kulugo, or kagwang, the Philippine flying lemur. In Mindanao, the kulugo or the kagwang is the favorite food of the Philippine eagle. Okay, so birding here in Bohol will be mostly on roadside and on well-marked forest trails inside Sikatuna protected landscape in the center of the island. So it functions as a watershed also for the whole island. And the trails are flat and level on most parts, but there are limestone rocks jutting out in some places, but it should not be a problem for most birders. So this yellow-breasted tailorbird is a Bohol Island endemic and is often found skulking in the undergrowth. So the neighboring streams can be good for northern silvery kingfisher, a close relative of the southern silvery kingfisher from Peacock. Don't get confused. Okay, so every once in a while we can get lucky and we can see the Visayan broadbill, a close relative of the Mindanao wattled broadbill from Peacock and Zamboanga. Okay, so this sunbird is similar to the Luzon sunbird. But this one is endemic only to Bohol, the Bohol sunbird. They can be seen feeding on the flowers of coconut trees as well as other wildflowers inside the park. So as I mentioned earlier, Bohol Island shares species with the Mindanao faunal region. Species such as Rufous Lord Kingfisher, streak-wren babbler, and black-faced kukal can be seen relatively easy here in the island of Bohol. So nocturnal birding can be productive for Everett's scops owl as well as Philippine frogmouth. And if lucky, you might chance upon a wild Philippine tarsier while looking for this nocturnal species. Okay, so from Bohol we jump to Negros Island. No? So Negros Island is one of the bigger islands in the Philippines and is found on the western part of the archipelago. It shares its birds with neighboring island of Panay. No? So Negros and Panay, they share the same birds. And it has around 19 endemic species. No? So there are several birding spots on Negros Island, such as Mambukal, Gawahon Eco Park, but we will focus first on Balinsasayao Twin Lakes on the southern part of the island. No? So if you are visiting Bohol, a logical next stop would be Twin Lakes in Sibulan near Dumaguete, because it's just a 2-hour ferry ride away from Bohol, no, in the west central Philippines. Now, if coming from Manila, you can also take a 1-hour flight from Manila to Dumaguete Airport. Then just a short van ride to get to downtown Dumaguete. No? Again, being a tourist town like Palawan and Bohol, there are many accommodation options in the city. So from our accommodations in downtown Dumaguete, we take a 1-hour van ride to the birding site at Balinsasayao Twin Lakes. So birding here is quite relaxed. It's a combination of walking on roadside and very nice trails, and also while being paddled across the lake on wide twin-hulled boats. No? I think the hornbill is covering the photo of the twin-hulled boats. Anyway, no? So here's our friends from Taiwan, no? Chill birding on a boat, looking at a Visayan hornbill, no, endemic to the west central Philippines. No? Since it is a middle to high elevation, weather here can vary and change quickly. Sometimes it's very foggy, sometimes raining, no? Sometimes sunny days. But most of the time it is pleasant, like this time here with our Taiwanese friends. Okay, so the flowers around the reception area and the restaurant of the park attracts sunbirds such as magnificent sunbird and maroon nape sunbird. And the other West Visayan endemics include the yellow-faced flameback and the white-winged coco shrike. So the yellow-faced flameback here on the left, it's a critically endangered bird, and it's one of the rarest and most difficult woodpeckers in the Philippines. Okay? So Negros and its neighboring island of Panay is home to the Philippines' most beautiful babbler. No, it's the flame-templed babbler. No, most of the time it is together in a mixed flock with Visayan fantail, no, the sulphur-billed nuthatch, elegant tits, no, but sometimes it can be found singly. Okay? And then one of the harder endemics is the relative of the Luzon bleeding heart that I've showed last week. No? This one here is the much rarer Negros bleeding heart. No? Just a handful observations of this very shy bird from Negros, but it is a bit easier to see in the neighboring island of Panay. Okay? The lower elevations can be good for black-belted or Visayan flowerpecker. No, it's again, it's a West Visayan endemic. Okay, and then at Liptong Woodlands, no, a few minutes drive from downtown Dumaguete, there's a nice forest patch there maintained by our good friend Rene Venjola, and that's the best place to see this Negros scops owl. It's one of the smallest owls in the Philippines, together with other nocturnal birds like Luzon hawk owl and Philippine nightjar. Okay, so other birding sites on Negros that's good for West Visayas endemics are Mambukal and Gawahon Eco Park. No? So these areas are a bit difficult to reach if you're coming from Bohol. So it's best to go here if you're coming from Manila. No? So both can be reached after a 1-hour flight to Bacolod Silay Airport in the northern part of Negros, and after 1 to 2 hours van drive, you'll be able to get to these excellent birding places. No, so we will feature today Gawahon Eco Park, which is a nice forested area in Victoria City. It's gaining popularity recently. It shares most of the birds of Twin Lakes, but it can be good also for these two species, South Indigo Banded Kingfisher and White-throated Jungle Flycatcher. Okay? So there are other Visayan destinations, no? But for the purposes of our our presentation, and also if you're doing just a 4-week birding trip in the Philippines, you won't be able to squeeze in these destinations. You have to make a return trip to make a visit to these other islands. No, so other islands such as Tablas here and Romblon, they're good for maybe around 3 to 4 endemics, like the Tablas drongo, Tablas fantail, among other species. There's also a Mantanani scops owl in these islands here. And then Panay here is it shares some of the birds from Negros, but it also has its own endemic, the high elevation Panay striped babbler, and one of the rarest hornbills in the world. Walden's hornbill is relatively easier to see in Panay than on Negros. No? And then this long island here, elongated island of Cebu, is home to the black shama. No? And the rarest flower pecker in the Philippines, the Cebu flower pecker. No one has a photo of that species yet. So that's why it's just an illustration here in my presentation. You know? And then Samar here on the eastern part of the Philippines, it shares some birds with Bohol and Mindanao Island. No? But it has its own set of endemics like the Visayan plumed warbler. And then down here in the southern part of the Visayas region is Siquijor, no? With its endemic Siquijor streak-breasted bulbul. Okay? So that's it. No? I've just presented some of the most popular birding destinations in the Philippines. No? So if you are planning a trip to our country and you have 3 weeks, I would suggest an itinerary visiting the 3 major islands of Luzon, Palawan, and Mindanao. No? A visit like this can yield around 300 species with around 60% of the Philippine endemics. No? So if you have more time to spare, a 4th week can be spent visiting the smaller islands in the Visayas. No? More specifically, the islands of Bohol and Negros, which will add around 20 to 25 more endemic species. No? Our Asian neighbor friends, no, Asian neighbor birders, they prefer multiple 2-week trips over the course of several years. Now, for example, during their first visit to the Philippines, they just visit Luzon and Palawan. And then the following year, they come back, they go to Mindanao and the Visayas. Now, this is because their home countries are a lot closer to the Philippines and involves just a short flight. Okay, so Filipino birders, we usually take advantage of our long holiday weekends to visit individual sites. No? So for example, a month ago, some of our birder friends, they took advantage of the Labor Day weekend and visited Picop, no? And then went back to Manila or were their base cities. Okay, so for day trips from Manila, we recommend either of the 3 closer destinations such as Makiling or Subic or Southern Sierra Madre that I have presented last week. Okay, so birding in the Philippines is typically for the physically fit. However, it is possible to tailor trips that can accommodate less active birders or birders with limited mobility. No, just make sure to drop us an email for that. Okay, so the Philippines is one of the top birding destinations, no, to go birding, especially if you're looking to see all our beautiful 300 plus endemics. No? So we have more than 700 reasons for you to visit. Okay, so not only for birds and wildlife, but also for food. We have the best mangoes in the world. No, that's not coming from me. That's what our guests say when they eat our mangoes. No? So we have fresh seafood, others. No? This one here in the middle, this is the favorite of our Japanese birder friends. It's called mutya ng bislig. It's seafood chowder. Okay, so you can celebrate your birthdays here, while birding. Okay, so whether it be natural, gastronomic, historical, or cultural tours, we can offer the best of the Philippines in your trip. Okay, so it can be a fun and relaxing experience despite the difficulties of birding in some areas. So we have become good friends with our regular clients. Here's our group of Taiwanese lady birders from our trip in Negros and Bohol. This is their return trip after doing Subic and Palawan the previous year. And here's our Japanese birder friends who we have become good friends throughout the years, through multiple trips covering Luzon, Mindanao, Palawan, and Visayas. That's our good friend Haruhiko Asukasan enjoying a nice cold San Miguel beer at lunchtime after seeing the Celestial Monarch and the Rufus Hornbill. One hot sunny day at Peacock. Okay, so lady birders from USA enjoying the boat ride from the Puerto Princesa Underground River after seeing the Palawan Peacock Pheasant. Here's our European birders at Subic. So all countries, you're all welcome here. Come to the Philippines now. Okay, so we will do our best to give you the total birding experience. We will try to show you our beautiful birds with a touch of the Filipino hospitality, with relative ease and maximum comfort. Here's our group here after seeing the Australasian grass owl at Bislig. And here's our group enjoying the boat ride to the underground river. And our guests enjoying our pony rides up to Mount Kitanglad. Okay, so though most of Philippine birding is considered hard work, compared to other countries, the rewards of seeing beautiful and enigmatic endemic Philippine species is something many birders look forward to. So come to the Philippines and bird with us now, and we will give you reasons to celebrate. So here's our group rejoicing after seeing the Philippine eagle in the wilds of Mount Kitanglad in Bukidnon in Mindanao. Okay, so thank you very much again to the Asian Bird Fair community. Thanks to all the birders who listened tonight. And if you have more questions, you may ask them in our Zoom meeting here, or drop your questions in our in the Facebook message chat box. Thank you.
Wow. Okay. Once again, thank you so much. So many things to cover. I know it's not really easy, and you speak pretty fast. Hope everybody, got what you say. So, yes, questions to Adrian. Yeah, Mike.
Oh, from Facebook Live, our friend Tang Takhom of Malaysia is asking when are the best months for bird watching in the Philippines.
Okay, so the best times to go to the Philippines would be from November to April. But you can actually go anytime. But those are the best months, November to April. It's not so hot. It's not so humid. And we don't, during those months, there's not much rain. It's outside the rainy season. Typhoon season.
Okay.
Are there any questions?
Yes, Scott.
Adrian, thanks very much for a very interesting presentation. I was just wondering, for the Philippine eagle, I know that the numbers are not very high. Are they making an increase or decrease in the numbers of Philippine eagles?
Difficult to tell at the moment, but more or less stable, I guess.
Okay.
But unfortunately, during the 2 years of the pandemic, there were lots of reports of eagles being captured in the wild, whether accidentally or intentionally, and they were rescued by the Philippine Eagle Foundation. And the good thing is, those eagles that got trapped or got captured, they were released. They were released back into the wild through the efforts of the Philippine Eagle Foundation.
So there's a foundation to help improve the numbers and protect. Oh, okay.
Yes. No, so the Philippine Eagle Foundation, it's one of the bigger NGOs here in the Philippines. They're based in Davao and they're doing a lot of work, both community work and both habitat restoration to preserve our Philippine eagle, not only in Mindanao but also in other places in the Philippines. No? So recently, they were able to do a lot of work also here in Luzon. No? When we say Philippine eagle, we automatically think of Mindanao, no? But there are also Philippine eagles here in Luzon, and the Philippine Eagle Foundation has been doing great work in together with the partner agencies as well.
Oh, good.
To save the Philippine eagle.
Thank you.
Okay. Do we have more questions, Mike? Hello, Mike. If not, Herbert.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Adrian. That's fantastic. I love the background. Looks like Uganda, all green mountains. I feel like going to Philippines now. I must go to Philippines. I need to come and see those birds. They're all beautiful. Those endemics, the frog mouses. I really want to go there. I also like the introduction where you had these people getting involved, and that was nice. Thank you very much. I will talk with Victor and make sure that next round I go there. Thank you so much.
You're very much welcome here, Herbert. And I'll be very happy to take you around.
Thank you.
We will go together, Herbert. No problem.
Yes.
Any more questions for Adrian?
How about we get
Yeah, Mike?
I was suggesting we get a group photo first.
Oh, yes, sure. Let's take a group photo. Yes, okay. Please turn on your camera, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. Hi, Davis. Good to see you. Bernard?
Hi, Victor.
Bernard? And Ixie. Hello, Ixie.
Hi, Ixie.
Hi, I'm in my pajamas.
Oh.
It's okay.
Okay.
Wait, I'll cover myself with a blanket.
If you're having something, you. Moses. Hello, Moses.
Okay.
And Bernard.
Okay, Bernard. If not, let's take the first group photo, right? Look at the camera and smile. Guys, 1, 2, 3. Thank you very much. That's our first group photo.
Okay.
Okay, let's take a second. Wait. All right, okay. What about Moses? Hello, Moses. Hey, Moses, join us. Okay, right. Okay, wait. 1, 2, 3. Thank you so much. Okay, thank you. Let's move on.
I think we have a question from Facebook Live
Okay.
from Gwen.
Oh, okay.
The question is, what is the maximum number of people to visit Mount Kitanglad? Okay?
Oh.
So ideally, small group is always better, especially if you're looking for the skulkers or the mixed flocks. But for Mount Kitanglad, especially if the main goal would be to see the Philippine eagle, like for example, the photo that I showed you in my presentation when we went there after the first Asian Bird Fair, I think we were 14 or 18 people that time. No? But logistically, I would say the maximum would be, that's a special occasion, no? So we push it to the limit. But for purposes of for better logistics, I would say maybe maximum would be 8 or 10 would be pushing it. No? But 8 to 10, that's the maximum number. because in some parts of the trail, it's just a single path trail. So it might be difficult for the others if it's a bigger group. Thanks, Gwen, for the question. Oh, sorry, it's Wen. Hi, Wen. Not Gwen. So Wen is from she was here with us for 2 times already.
Adrian, I've been to Bislik, and I remember the logging is pretty, serious there. So there is really a lot of people. So when there are people, they just fly away. So you can see them way far or way high there. So what about the situation now?
It's actually worse.
Oh,
Unfortunately, it's worse. No? That's why we're looking at other areas like Zamboanga or Davao Oriental. So, but the birds are still there. Like a few weeks ago, members from the Wild Bird Club of the Philippines visited the peacock, and they were still able to see most of the special birds, like celestial monarch, short-crested monarch. But the conditions of birding are not so good. Like the whole day you're hearing chainsaws, and then you'd see trucks and trucks of logs being ferried out of the forest. The birds are still there. For how long, I don't know. Unfortunately,
yeah,
it's a sad story.
Yeah. Yeah. So better be there as fast as you can, right?
Yes,
Before before they're gone.
before they're gone. Same with the peacock pheasant. Like before, it was so easy to see, but now the tame individual is dead, so it's a bit difficult to look for them now. So if you have time, you can visit the Philippines.
Yeah, when there's no border control, the country is open. So, guys, let's go to Philippines.
But rainy season is about to come.
Oh, okay.
But it's okay if you don't mind the rain.
Okay. Right. So if we don't have any more questions, let's say thank you to Adrian again. Thank you so much, Adrian. You brought us a lot of information about birding in the Philippines, and we really want to go there again. I mean, I've been to Manila, I've been to Mindanao, and I want to go to Visayas because it's a great place for birding. Thank you, Adrian, and thank you, guys.
Thank you, Adri.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
And next week we are going to Malaysia. Martin, the president of the Weber Club of the Malaysia, will talk about breeding hotspot in Malaysia. So I look forward to seeing you all next week. And thank you so much. See you next week. Same time, same place, and same link.
Thank you. Good night.
Have a nice weekend.
Thank you, everyone. Global Birding Day tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
Bye, Richard.
Everybody.
Next week, everybody. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.